Welcome to Exception Seekers, the show where we challenge conventional views on youth mental health and explore stories and experiences that offer alternative perspectives. Today, I am joined all the way from Pennsylvania by Kelly Mahler, who is an occupational therapist and author. And we talk about the mind-body connection and why an awareness and understanding of our bodies is so key to understanding our emotions. And I think one of the things that has stood out to me in reading some of Kelly's work is the idea of how often do we look at an emotion, let's say anxiety, and give ideas on what to do. You know, when you're feeling anxious, try, and then we give a strategy. But what happens when we don't know our body's cues for anxiety? What happens if we can't even pair our body signals to an emotion? This is Kelly's Interoception curriculum and the basis of our conversation today. So here we go. Thank you for being here today. It's so nice to meet you.
Oh, thanks, Colleen. I can't wait to have this conversation.
Yeah, me neither. I've been really looking forward to this, just in like reading your book and learning more about the work you do. I'm so curious to get to learn more. I know a lot of what we will be talking about is this idea of interoception, but perhaps before we do that, maybe a little bit of background on you. I know you're an occupational therapist. What drew you to that field? What was your journey to getting to where you are right now?
It's a great question. I mean, I think the moment I actually remember pretty clearly realizing I wanted to be an occupational therapist was when I was in high school and
Mm.
I was volunteering as a swim coach for a Special Olympics swim team. And I was doing it for a few years and I loved it so much. It was some of my most favorite memories. And the head coach of the swim team at the time was in occupational therapy school, and she's like, you really seem to love this a lot, and you're so good with the athletes. And she's like, have
Yeah,
you ever thought about being an occupational therapist? And I'm like, well, I don't even know what that is. So
right.
I started to learn more about it, and obviously it really hit. It was a great match for me. So I pursued schooling for it, and here I am 23 years later.
So did you swim competitive? Like, were you a swimmer growing up then too?
I was a swimmer growing up, yes. And as a young adult before I had kids, my husband and I were still competitively swimming, and we actually our relay had one of the top times in the nation. So we were bragging rights as old, quote unquote old people in our 20s. Now I look back, I'm like, I was so young, but
Yeah, yeah, I love it. We went to school as occupational for occupational therapy, and then where did that degree lead you career-wise?
Well, I wanted to be a pediatric OT,
Okay.
and barriers just kept happening. Like one of my internships when I was in school, I was all lined up to be in a school setting, and that fell through last minute. So I was quickly shuffled to a skilled nursing facility, which is not the same thing at all. And then
Doesn't sound like it.
oh, not at all. And then I graduated and I was trying to get, any pediatric job that I could. And it was a very competitive market back then. And I couldn't get one. So I ended up taking a job in a hospital and working on an orthopedic floor. So helping people like the day after a hip replacement or a knee
Okay.
replacement type surgery.
Mhm.
And so it took me 6 months into that to finally land my first school-based job. And that's just when I liked what I was doing in the hospital, but it didn't make me passionate and excited to come to work every
Yes.
day. And when I got my school-based job, it just shifted everything for me. Like I knew, I don't know, it's just really hard to explain. I just knew.
There is a piece, of sometimes it's when we land in that certain spot where we're meant to be, it's just like, oh, this is where I was supposed to be right now. What was it about kids? Because you kept having these like moments that were pulling you away and you kept going back and saying, no, I
Yeah.
really want to work with young people.
playing. I think
Mm,
it's probably just being able to play and have fun. But
yeah.
what I ended up realizing is that I like to support all ages, but I really love the middle school and high school students, and nobody
Yeah.
nobody else in my organization wanted to support them. So I'm like,
Yep.
I'll do it because
Mhm.
I love still like they're young, but they can like they just just developmentally they can rationalize with you a little bit. You can really seek to understand their perspective and insights on things, and
Mhm.
that's like really my sweet spot. Like I love middle school and high school.
I am right there with you. They are my my people. Yeah, I
Hmm.
think those ages are so special. And so interoception.
Hmm.
Um, so what is it? How would you explain it?
Well, it's a sense, first of all. I nicknamed it the eighth sense. You know, people can't decide how many senses our body have, but we all have interoception in our bodies, and its
Mhm.
main job is to like really monitor the condition of our body. How is our body feeling? So we have like
Okay.
receptors for interoception throughout all of the tissues of our body, meaning like in like the tissues in our heart and our stomach and our lungs and our bladder and our colon and our skin. And we
Mhm.
have the interoceptors in like our eyeballs and brain. I mean, they're pretty much everywhere, and they're constantly pulling in information about how all of these different body parts are feeling, or what is the
Okay.
condition of them. And so um, a lot of times, thankfully, we
Mhm.
don't notice every single sensation or change that's happening in our body. Like some of it stays below our
Mm.
level of consciousness. Like probably no
Yes.
one out there listening woke up today and said like, "Whoo, my liver's releasing a lot of enzymes right now." Like
Right.
things are
Right.
happening with interoception, but then
Yes.
some of the messages, these sensations, like maybe it's like an empty feeling in your stomach or a full bladder or a throbbing head, like
Mhm.
these feelings, these sensations reach our level of consciousness, and it gives us information about like the condition of our body, like I'm saying. And
Right.
so that helps us to know how to take care of our body. Like, if we're having
Okay.
a throbbing head, do we need to take medicine or see a
Mhm.
doctor or take a nap?
Right.
Or if our stomach's feeling empty, do we need to get a snack kind of thing? So
Mhm.
interoception really is providing us with these body signals that are informing how our body is
Right.
doing and if it needs us to do anything to help take care of it.
So it's this like really deep, almost cellular communication
Yeah.
level. Yeah, and I can see the need, like, if we were aware of all of it, it would probably be just like so overwhelming and distracting. So the filter there of like, what do we pay attention to and what do we not pay attention to? Like, why is it important for us to be aware of this?
Our body is sending us messages that are really important to pay attention to, essentially. And
Yeah. Okay.
I talk a lot about this, and I know I can't possibly capture every person out there listening, just for
Hmm.
time's sake, generalize a little bit, but we
Hmm.
do live in a world that is really sending us messages to ignore our bodies.
Mm.
Like we're kind of like go,
Yes.
go, 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 screen, like busy, busy, busy. Like there's not a lot of attention time to
Mhm.
notice how our body is feeling. And that is, I think, shifting a little bit, like with all the mindfulness out there and,
Mhm.
body-based practices like yoga. But then even when we slow down to notice how our body is feeling, we get messages like that it's weak to listen to your body. It's
Mm.
weak to take a break. It's weak to take a step back. Like,
Yes.
and so we just have all of these messages that are
Yep.
constantly fighting against interoception. So I think that's why, like, if we're going to look at this from a big picture place, that's why it's important for us to like really understand interoception and
Hmm.
how there is over 5,000 studies now in interoception, and a lot of them are
Wow.
pointing to how key it is
Yes.
to be connected to our body. Our body, these
Yeah.
sensations are really giving us important information.
Yeah, you're right. That idea of like, mind over matter, just push through it or ignore, focus or go harder or faster are off or would be very counter to the pausing and noticing and, what do we need? As you were saying that too, it made me think like, for young people, I would think like the younger we can learn this, or just the more we can tune into those cues from a young age, the better we are positioned as we get older, but also thinking of young people and the challenge sometimes of they might notice something, but also are they in a place, are they equipped with what they need to be able to meet the need?
I mean, from a young age, many
Mhm.
of us are conditioned out of our bodies, just like the
Yeah.
example you gave, or, like maybe a kid, their body's saying like, I need to like wiggle or stand up in the classroom to move
Yes.
in order to learn. But we're like, oh no, sit still, right? Sit in your desk, eyes forward towards the teacher,
Yeah.
or else you'll clip down on the clip down chart, or like, so
Yeah.
there's so many things that are just conditioning us to not listen to our body, to almost
Yeah.
mask or suppress what our body is telling us that it needs in order to comply with the
Hmm.
world around us.
Was this part of your OT education?
Yeah. Well, the OT program I went to was very heavy on mental health. Like most people don't
Okay.
know, OTs are not good at like really promoting our profession. We are a mental health
Mhm.
discipline. That is where our roots came from.
Yeah.
We kind of got a little off track during the whole medical model, like,
Mm.
boom. But we're slowly coming back. So I think that
Hmm.
that training in and of itself, like just really seeing the person as a whole and thinking about their, emotional and physical well-being was
Yeah.
like really instrumental because I was always seeking to support that in the students I was working with. But I mean my students made gains, but I always like felt like there's just something more, and or
Mm.
like maybe I just don't have enough experience yet, or maybe I just can't figure out like what it is. And
Yeah.
when I read about interoception for the first time, I was like, hmm, this sounds pretty important.
Right.
Yeah. And so I started like asking a lot of my students like interoception questions like,
Okay.
how's your body feel when you're sleepy? Or what do you notice in your body when you're getting frustrated? And they're like, I don't know. And I was like,
Right. Yeah.
this whole time. And I was unconsciously assuming that they knew how they feel. They just didn't
Right.
know how to regulate that feeling. Right. And
Yes.
I was like, oh gosh, there's a whole foundation missing here. Like you have to
Yeah.
really understand how you're feeling, like in your body,
Hmm.
in order to be able to regulate that like effectively. So
Yes.
I realized interoception is probably a big deal.
When I was reading your book and reading about it, that was one of the pieces that really stood out to me because I'll experience the same thing. I'll ask questions like that and then, yeah, I don't know. Right. And I used to think, well, maybe they just don't know how to put words to it necessarily, which, can be a piece of it. But reading more about interoception, I was like, oh, or I'm, we're missing that like first piece. Like I'm on like, I'm farther down a track of assumption, and I'm missing it. And I just thought, oh, it totally changed, yeah, the way I look at framing questions or how I pause with answers sometimes. So you started noticing this when you were in school or like working in the school. Um, but you now have like curriculum and training programs and books and like so much information out there now to try to like help people understand that. Um, are you still working in schools or have you like made a full switch or shift?
Yeah, I've made a full shift. I
Okay.
do have a couple private clients, but I gave up my contracts with the schools right now because I
Okay.
am trying to really dedicate my time to spreading awareness about interoception and hopefully helping to update certain systems that are oppressive to our interoceptive systems, like
Yeah.
that we've already talked about, like education, is
Yeah.
rooted a lot. And like our education system, is filled with compliance. And I really feel like
Hmm.
that's impacting um, it's impacting the mental health, I think, of a lot of our
Yeah.
young people. And I loved,
Hmm.
I know I'm going back to something you said a lot earlier, but I loved how, like, I forget exactly now how you were saying it, but you were like wondering about the impact of interoception kind of like long term
Hmm.
if we can get kids working on interoception and understanding their bodies from a young age, like
Yeah.
what is going to be the long term impact of that? Like I am excited to
Yeah.
see what happens. This work is so new that we just don't have any long term data
Yes.
yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It will be so interesting to see. we can look at education, and it's, not to like critique the education system, but it's a system that like takes a lot of children in through it, so it's like a shared experience for all of us. If interoception was really understood from a educational perspective, what would an interoceptive supportive classroom look like?
I love
Right.
that question. That would be something I would have to ponder for hours.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah,
my initial my
yeah.
initial answer, but that's probably going to change as I ponder this great question. But I think like first of all, it's just going to be um, a lot more curious. But I just want to, I guess before I can even start to say what that classroom is going to look like, I feel like, first of all, like I have so many educator friends, and I just feel like they have one of the hardest jobs in the entire world. And
Yes.
like, let's face it, like this is a whole system issue. Like the
Mhm,
teachers themselves are under compliance. They're not allowed to listen to their bodies. Their
mhm.
classrooms are overpacked. They have no resources. They
Totally.
can't listen to their body. They're probably not eating when their body's hungry or going to the
Mm-mm,
bathroom when they need to pee. Like, I mean, so I think that
mm-mm,
when I'm going to say like what a scenario looks like, this is like not a fault of a teacher because this is an entire system from the top down,
absolutely.
right?
It's a full institution.
It's a whole institution.
Mhm,
But I
mhm,
think that we just need a lot more curiosity about things that we see kids doing
mhm,
and like, really helping them with this curiosity lens to discover more about what their body uniquely needs in that classroom to be successful, to do the hard work, to make it,
right.
to learn and do all that kind of stuff instead of using all of this behavior-based
Mhm,
and compliance-based that is
mhm,
just like
mhm,
putting Band-Aid after Band-Aid on a whole lot of issues. And I think we're just forcing kids through systems, and they're obviously the research is not promising that they're growing into adults with major mental health
mhm,
issues. And so when I talk about it out loud with you like this, it sounds like a really big task, but I feel like there's little shifts along the way that we can
yeah.
make, in changing that huge institution.
Often we hear things like, or I will say things like, well, when you feel anxious, try this, or when you feel angry, try this. And, through this interception lens, then the challenge is if they don't know what anger or anxiety or any of those emotions feel like. So how do we learn to like hear those messages from our body?
A lot of our work is just lots of practice noticing your body signals.
Okay.
So, for example, like I like to do it one body part at a time at first because
Mhm.
we try to make this fun, but also like we want it to be accessible and successful for a lot of people. And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of really great practices out there, like for example, a body scan, and that's like
Mhm.
that's a form of mindfulness where you're channeling your attention to how your body feels and you're scanning through your entire body. Like for a lot of my clients that they share, like that's way too much for where I'm
Okay.
at right now, right? Like
Okay.
that's a lot of cognitive demand
Okay.
to maintain your attention, to shift through all these different body parts, to notice what they're feeling. Do you have the language to describe it? I mean, there's so much involved, right?
Yes.
So we're trying to make this a little more accessible. So we might like start with, for example, the hands, and we'll do playful things like we might like hold an ice pack or squeeze stress balls or shake
Mhm.
our hands really fast and notice how our hands feel during these, we call them experiments, during these little
Yeah.
experiments. So
Okay.
we're like practicing the noticing in times where they feel safe in their body. We're having fun, they're regulated, we're doing
Mhm.
it together. We're showing that there's no wrong way to feel because what I love so much about this interoception work, it has just shined the light on how different each of our bodies are. And like, and what your body feels like when you're anxious is going to be different than what my body feels like when I'm anxious.
Yeah.
Um, and to watch kids make these discoveries about their own body is
Mm.
so cool. Like I love it. Because I think a lot of them are accident. I was part of this, by the way, but there's programs out there that like teach, like, oh, anxiety is when your heart is racing and your chest feels tight, and and
Mhm.
your brain, your thoughts are racing, and
Mhm.
that's not the case for every single person. So
Mhm.
if we use these playful strategies to practice the noticing, I see a lot of my clients just getting so much more connected to their body. They're noticing a whole bunch more sensations, and we can slowly help them to connect those sensations to the meaning for them. So they start to learn what anxiety means through their own body signals. Like, oh,
Right.
anxiety for me is a buzzing feeling in the back of my tongue. That's like what one of my students just discovered.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and that's not something I would have ever, quote unquote, taught about anxiety. So
No.
they're discovering their own unique
Mm.
um, perspective on these emotion words that we tend to throw around and
Mhm.
kind of take for granted that we all like share common understanding.
As you say that, like, I love that because it's less, this is anxiety, the
Mhm.
following bullet points, and it's more, you know, your body experiencing certain things. And then as you notice those things, can you figure out what they're meaning? Like, it's this cool little like puzzle almost that you're unlocking, but it's, yeah, so individual and uses, like, lets that person use their own words.
Yes, they are centered in
Mhm.
interoception work as the expert in their experience. We are just guides
Mhm.
on the outside, maybe bringing in the fun stuff to practice
Right.
noticing body signals, but it is their journey and we're just a part of it. And
Yeah.
I think that shifts the narrative because when we're like, anxiety is a list of these things, like that's us being almost presenting us as the expert. We
Yes.
know what anxiety is. We're going to tell you about it. And I love
Totally.
this, like, really switches and puts the person front and center as the expert in their own body and
Yes.
experience.
Yeah, I really like that. And then there isn't this like, this is the box you fit in if you have this, or, that like, well, I don't experience it like this, so then I must not have that. It's like, no, you actually
Mhm.
can. Oh, I'm going to be thinking about so many things after we talk. I can
Same.
already tell my mind's just like, I'm going to be processing a lot of this for a while, I think. What would be ways that adults could support kids, because I'm sure anyone can benefit from this, particularly probably some of us more than others even.
I think maybe like the first place to start
Mhm.
is adult modeling. So, what I
Okay.
mean by that is like an adult starting to talk out loud about the way their body is feeling, kind
Mm.
of like get this out into the universe, like that many of us are having these internal sensations that are kind of driving things we
Yeah.
might be doing on a daily basis. And it can be like really small things like like I was eating an orange before we got on and my hands were all sticky. So like I could say
Oh.
like, oh, like my hands feel so sticky right now. I'm gonna go wash them. Like just little tiny things. It doesn't have to be
Yes.
anything big, but just like getting in the habit of occasionally talking out loud about your body signals or, maybe we don't consciously realize some of these things that we do, but like, and it's going to be different for all of us, but like maybe
Sure.
before you go to the grocery store, you're like checking in with your body, like, do I have to pee before I leave the house right
Yeah.
now? Or can I wait till I get back? Talk out loud about that. Or like, if
Yes.
you have a feeling in your body and you don't even know what it is, I mean, I think modeling the not knowing is important too. Like, gosh, like my body feels so weird right now. Like, I just can't figure out what's going
Yeah.
on. I wonder if I'm just tired or maybe I'm getting sick. Like, I don't know.
Hmm.
So I think just talking with our kids out loud, just
Hmm.
really authentically, um, it can be really hard, I'm just gonna say. It was hard for me. Like
Okay.
I was raised in a very stable and loving household, but my parents weren't walking around talking about their
Right.
intercepted situation. So
Yes.
and and I've discovered I am not because of that, but I also have had other lived experiences where I was very disconnected to my body. So starting to model this for my kids and clients was really hard, but I
Right.
think it's had a side benefit of giving me practice noticing my body because you have to notice your body to be able to model it out loud, right? And so I think that kind of
Hmm.
neutralizes it before we start shifting our curiosity to the kid. Because we're like just showing like this is happening in my body, you
Right.
know, it kind of is what it is. And then
Yes.
we can start being curious about their interoceptive, sense. And so you
Right.
could just add to the modeling, like you could say like I don't like my hands feel sticky from the orange right now. Like, and you could say, like, is it same or different for your hands? Like, you could just
Hmm.
shift small little shifts. Like, now,
Interesting.
like, tell me about your body. Or, maybe they're holding, like, I don't know, a cold water bottle, and you can just be like, how do your hands feel right now while you're holding that water bottle? It can just be
Yeah.
tiny little moments where you're showing a little bit of curiosity.
Yes.
Um, really important not to label what we think because that
Mm.
shuts down curiosity. And I find myself doing this still to this day, like
Mhm,
labeling
mhm,
my, like when my kids
mhm.
were younger and they'd be doing like the wiggle potty dance, and I'd be like, oh, it looks like you have to go potty right now. Like that's me like labeling what I think is going on in their body instead of me being curious. Like, so you could say something like, I see your body doing this, like wiggling back and forth. Like, what does it mean? Or what does your body need right now?
I was thinking you mentioned like going to the grocery store, do you have to go to the bathroom first? And in my standard, before we go on a road trip or anytime we're going anywhere, it's like, okay, remember to use the washroom before we go. Which, as I think of that, is like fairly directive and not really like if I were to say, would a more interoceptive way of saying that be remember to check in and see if you need to use the washroom or
There's a balance here because if you're getting on a long road trip and
right.
maybe the kid's not completely connected to their bodies
That's
yet, and we're
that's
like,
true.
hey, like, but maybe that's the
That's true.
modeling piece starts first and be like, hey, we're getting ready to get in the car. We're going to be in the
Yes.
car for 2 hours. I noticed this little feeling below my belly button. I have to pee
Yes.
just a little bit. So I'm just going to try to go to the bathroom, so that
Yes.
I don't have to, this feeling doesn't get bigger and uncomfortable
Right.
while we're in the car,
Right.
and then
Yes.
maybe say like, what do you think? Or, something. And, and,
Yes.
and, and I think, I think just having this lens of curiosity is important, but like I don't get it right all the time as a
Hmm.
parent. I think that forgiveness too. Like, I mean, I do
Right.
want my kids to go to the bathroom before a big long trip because I don't want to
Yes.
have to stop 7 times.
Oh, and I can picture because yes, and then you're like 10 minutes down the road, and then but why didn't you go if I just, yeah, a
Yeah.
balance for sure. Yes. Okay.
But you have the
Yeah.
conversation out loud. Like I would really love for you to go because, I think all of our bladders might be, feeling a certain way after 2 hours or, something like that.
Yes.
Um, to have those conversations.
Being a young person can be tough. Raising a young person can be tough. Whether it's school stress, family dynamics, or navigating challenging emotions, everyone needs the right support. That's where Sound Youth Counseling comes in. We specialize in helping children ages 4 and up through individual, parent, and family counseling tailored to meet each person's unique needs. From tackling tough issues at home or school, to providing customized workshops and professional development for teachers and community leaders, we're here to make a difference. At Sound Youth Counseling, we believe young people deserve a safe, welcoming, and accepting space to grow and thrive, and every family deserves the tools to support them. If you're looking for support, visit soundyouthcounseling.ca and see how we can help. Sound Youth Counseling, empowering individuals, supporting families, and building stronger communities. Are there different ways to share this or different needs that certain populations have to learn this that we need to be aware of or just like keep in the back of our minds if we're talking about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, this is probably going to benefit most people, but definitely we see and hear from a lot of neurodivergent people, also people that have experienced trauma. Like those
Right.
tend to be the biggest groups that are like very vocal about their interoception differences.
Yes.
Um, a lot of times it is their lived experience that is like
Hmm.
really affecting their interoceptive identity and their,
Yes.
connection to their body. So
Yes.
I think anytime we have or we know someone is neurodivergent or has a history of trauma, like that automatically gets me like just curious about
Hmm.
interoception.
Hmm.
They need a little bit of support reconnecting to their body in safe ways and learning about their body so that they can, use that knowledge to be more regulated.
I noticed in your book too, and you mentioned like talking about hands, like, somewhat like maybe more neutral, like your feet, or, kind of starting with what seem to be sort of, yeah, more neutral body parts. And, I wonder sometimes with that body scan, if it tends to like, people tend to try to focus deeper, like, how's my heart? How's my, and I wonder, yeah, was that like an intentional piece of that, of kind of building towards parts that might be more vulnerable?
Yes, but I never put it together with why the body scan is inaccessible. I just thought it was because it's like such a cognitive load, but it's
Oh, it
also
probably is that too, for sure. Yeah.
no, I think what you're saying is right. Like it's scanning through body parts that are probably like, I mean, I think for, I'm not, I think I know for a lot of people, even like noticing how do my hands feel can be very unnerving.
Hmm.
There is a reason why people are disconnected from their body. It
Yeah.
is a survival skill.
Yeah.
It is a strategy in place for a reason, like to disconnect, dissociate from your
Hmm.
body. Like super important. We're not trying to take that away. So when
Yeah.
we're like offering little windows of time where hopefully someone feels safe enough with us to like play and notice how their hands or feet feel. Yeah, we were very intentional of starting with outside body parts first, because they tend to be a little bit more concrete because you can see them while you're
Right.
noticing how they feel. And then we
Yes.
work our way inside. But we also talk about like really considering the order of body parts and doing your very best work to like be very trauma informed with what you're
Hmm.
picking. So
Hmm.
like for example, like if I have a client that I know maybe has ARFID and they have a lot of like sensitivities like to things around their mouth, like
Yep.
right now in the Interoception curriculum, the mouth lesson and all the different ways your mouth can feel is lesson number 3. We focus, that's the third
Right.
body part we focus on. I shift that way down the list because
Yes.
I know that's a very vulnerable body part for them. So there's
Right.
lots of thought and care that does go into the body parts and what order we pick.
Right. And then the more you know the person, the more you can kind of like tailor what that looks like or how that questioning goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've mentioned this curriculum that you've written. You've written a lot. Um, is there a certain piece that you've produced that kind of you hold close to your heart or one that you like, I don't know, kind of paved the way or sits a little differently for you?
It's definitely the Interoception curriculum. Like that
Okay.
is my part. Unless like,
Okay.
really, I worked hard at like, I always like t say like, yeah, I mean, I think as therapists, we do it different every time. Like
Hmm.
we really client centered. And so a lot of times I don't know what it's like in your field, but in occupational therapy, we're like, well, we can't possibly like, put that together or define exactly what we're doing or study the effectiveness of it because it's different every time. And one of
Right.
my mentors said to me, I guarantee you, Kelly, that there's patterns in what you're doing. And so that made me like, I'm such a curious and reflective person. So I probably went way too deep into finding those patterns, but I did. And I put it together into the curriculum, and it's really designed to be a framework for people to follow. Like, and I hope that they're really flexible and, client-centered, but it kind of gives us a kind of
Yeah.
like a recipe to follow when it's something so new for a lot of us as therapists. Um,
Yes.
and we're working on a second edition already because
Cool.
like, yeah, it's so informed by the clients and my clients and their families
Hmm.
and people that we talk to and email us about it. And it's just
Yeah.
like really nice to see the change that a lot of people report with it. Like, therapists saying like, you've
Hmm.
just given me like a new spark on my like career. I just love
Hmm.
like, helping someone figure out their body. And like, it
Yes.
is like a really cool privilege. Like it's a privilege. I consider to be a privilege to be alongside with my clients and watching them make these discoveries. And it's just like so cool.
I imagine there's a lot of like shared learning in that too, of I've just started like using some of this and even just hearing some of the words that young kids in particular use to describe and I think, wow, I would probably never have come up with that word, but as you say it, totally. That's so like what a great descriptor or yeah, it's really neat to see yeah, to see the words they use for things.
Right.
It's
And
cool.
then that gives you a
Hmm.
platform. You can use their words to
Hmm.
make what you're working on so meaningful because
Yes.
it's again like they are the expert. And like
Yes.
I feel like that gives us like little stepping stones to continue like, being on their
Me
journey.
too. You've, I don't know, maybe touched on this, but maybe not. I'm gonna ask you just to see, because I ask this of everyone. Like one of the goals of this podcast for exception seeking is that idea of how, we often get stuck in our narrative of how we see things. And so, can we find exceptions? Can we look outside of our path? And I'm always really interested in people who have seen something outside of their path and kind of gone with it.
Mhm.
And so, as someone who has like gone with an exception and done their own path, I'd be curious, when did you first realize that you saw things differently?
Yeah, I love this question. I don't know if there was ever a single moment in time that I realized that. My mom tells me that even as like a 2 and 3-year-old, like I would ask her questions that would just like blow her mind, like the things I was thinking about, and like, and she was
Yeah.
like, okay. So I
Yes.
think it was probably from a very young age that I probably an alternate thinker,
Hmm.
thinking outside of the box. And um, I think that I just have always like been on a quest to learn. Like I love learning that I'm wrong about things. Like I love like updating my knowledge, and
Yeah.
I can't remember if I said this already, but my husband calls me the interviewer. Like I just love learning about people and their
Yeah.
experience. I think that's like probably why I latched onto interoception so
Mm.
much. And even the way we started talking about interoception in the beginning of my work is so different than the way we talk about
Mm.
it, 10 years later. So it's just, I think it's like concrete proof that this is constantly evolving. I'm constantly updating the way I think about things. And that's thanks to, of course, science, but I think even more we need to attribute that to people with lived experience, like sharing about their
Yes.
interoception. And yeah, I just am so thankful and grateful to so many people that have shared.
So from a young age, there was that curiosity.
Maybe driving my parents wild just a little bit. It's fine.
When Google, yeah, that Google is helpful for parents who have very inquisitive children because yes, I realize how often I say I don't know to questions, and I realize the limitations of, yeah, I just don't know the answers to a lot of things that I'm asked sometimes. Um, so this inquisitive nature, were there like, I mean, that's kind of like the starting piece, but and then there's also that like, I don't know, confidence or just risk piece to then go out and do it. Um, Are there certain experiences that you would look back on to say, because of this, I got, I drew on this experience, or I think these things kind of set me up with that confidence to just go for it, or
Yeah, I think if I'm going to be honest, my confidence ebbs and flows.
mm,
Um, and what really gives me the most confidence is my clients and their families, and like the emails that I even like get from people that say like how much learning about interoception has just like completely changed the way they view something, or that they are so much more empathetic with their child, or that it has just completely changed my own life and I recognize when I'm sleepy, just little things like, and it's
yes.
just like that's what gives me the confidence, because there is an alternative. Well, I don't want to say alternative view because I don't want to like set up this like interception versus
Mhm.
compliance thing. But, like I feel like there's a lot of people, and very fairly, are scared of letting go of past ways. And so I meet a lot of resistance in the work I'm doing. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like my confidence kind of fades a little bit. I'm like, am I on the right track? Am I doing the
Yes.
right thing? And then I get another email from someone saying, oh, like,
Yeah.
this like, helped me understand myself so much. Like,
Yeah.
I let go of a little bit of shame because I always thought this was my fault. And now I
Mm,
understand, like, that it's, like I have a muted sense of interoception and I'm really working to notice my body signals more. Like,
yes.
just things like that, that
Yes.
it changed people's understanding of themselves.
What do you think is the biggest misconception or piece that's missing in terms of just that like buy-in or that like just try this or this is important?
I don't know. I think it's pretty new, and compliance is alluring because
Mhm.
we have control and
Mhm.
we're forcing, and
Yep.
people are like, if I let go of that, are you talking about like mass chaos and kids think they can just do whatever they want and they'll never
Right.
do hard work and they'll never build resilience? And we're like, I think it's just like helping people understand like that's not it at all. Like
Yeah.
it's about helping kids be able to do hard things because they understand their bodies and what their body needs to endure the hard thing, or it's like providing
Mm-hmm.
structure and predictability,
Mm-hmm.
but in collaboration with the child and what feels right to their body. It's not going to be a free for all. It's just a
Right.
little bit more of a shift of giving them some insight into their own life as well,
Mm-hmm.
instead of us just constantly controlling.
We don't want chaos, but we also can't just have all these like cookie cutter little like boxes. So it's sort of this like, I don't know, more gentle like blurring of lines almost. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we still need structure and we still need
Mm.
rules. We still need expectations. We need
Yes.
all of those things. But
Yes.
I think we just kind of went so far over to the compliance. And like if a kid isn't
Yeah.
meeting those expectations, then all of a sudden they're blamed and they're pathologized. Like, right. So they're said to like be oppositional or defiant or attention seeking or escape avoidance behavior. And then that sets off this horrible approach of like, well, remember what you're working for. You got to earn your token to if you have to finish your math assignment instead of us saying like, well, what is it about the math assignment that is so hard for them? What is making their body so uncomfortable? And how can we meet together and
Yes.
collaborate and maybe adapt a little bit of the math so that their
Mhm.
body feels more comfortable and gets it
Mhm.
done instead of us being like, no, you have to do it this way or you're not going to get your token. It's just like,
Mhm.
uh, like such
Yes.
a hard line many times.
Yes. So it's not saying like, you know, take it all apart, but can we, within those structures, can we be more self-aware,
Mhm.
and can we be open to there's more going on? Like there's things underneath this behavior, and can we like have curiosity to kind of figure out what that is or help? Anything new coming up in the interceptive world or research? I mean, you mentioned a second edition, but anything like getting you excited about the field?
Something that has me really excited. I can't even contain myself talking about it.
Okay.
I haven't talked about it very often yet. So my daughter, my youngest daughter, she's 15, Maddie. We are writing a kids book series on interoception. Yeah, so
Oh, this is
it's going to
so
be
cool.
oh, it's going to be 3 books, which follows the structure of the Interoception curriculum.
Okay.
So, book 1 is all about noticing body signals,
Hmm.
and that's going to be out next month. And it really is this like interactive book that leads kids through experiments and trying these experiments, noticing how different body parts feel. And the characters in the book are so dear. Like they're each one styled very specifically. Maddie and I thought put a lot of care into them. And then
Yeah.
there's a scientist in the book, Dr. Curious, and Dr. Curious,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
a lot of mantras that it's kind of like scripts that we're trying to teach the adult reader to like to
Mm.
kind of use to like
Mhm.
be curious. So
Mhm.
I feel like it's a kid's book, but it's so many different, it's like I don't know how to explain it well yet. Like there's a lot more to it than just it being a
Okay.
simple children's book.
Oh, well, I'm excited to read it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what a great endeavor. And like that's so special to get to do that with your daughter too.
Yes, because she's heard
Yes.
about interception from the time
Mm.
she's little.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, it's been really fun to do with her.
Yes. So if people are listening, they want to learn more, they're curious to like, yeah, get into this a little bit themselves, or um where should they go? Website, like your website, or is
Yeah,
that a
probably
good
my website.
starting? Okay,
Yeah. Yep,
perfect.
it's
We'll put that
Kelly
up there.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
There's there's so much freebies on there. So hopefully your listeners find it a helpful resource.
Yeah. Kelly, thank you. Thank you for your time with this and for sharing and for the work you're doing on it, because I think just the small part I'm learning is making me realize how important this is. And so I'm glad it's out there in such an accessible way. I think, sometimes we can have these like really big ideas, but they're just they're delivered in a way that makes them feel like we can't access them, and this is out there and it's just so user friendly. And yeah, I appreciate all the time you've put into it, because I think it's going to change. Thanks for listening to Exception Seekers. Tune in again as we continue to seek overlooked stories that offer new perspectives, disrupt limiting beliefs, and inspire transformative approaches to nurturing youth mental health.
This podcast was produced by North Star Networks, the guiding light for progressive media.